Hi folks, how's it going? Welcome to another video. So today's video is going to be on the topic of mid-table albums. Now what I mean by this is albums in your collection which don't ever, well, rarely get on the top of anybody's favourites lists. They're not necessarily viewed as great classics or the best work of an artist. But by the same token, they're not, or they're very rarely seen as being the worst of that artist's work, so they don't tend to end up on the bottom when people do albums rankings. But they seem to fall in the middle somewhere. You know, you could call it underrated albums, you could call it undiscovered gems, but I don't necessarily want to argue that these records are underrated or undiscovered gems. They kind of, in my opinion, they seem to belong mid-table somehow. You know, there's a kind of mixture of stuff on them. They don't necessarily contain a lot of classic tracks, but you know, they've got their moments, but you can sort of understand why they don't often get elevated up into the upper echelons of people's favourites. You know, the thing that inspired this video was I was listening to this record the other night. This is Mirage by Fleetwood Mac, which came out I think in 82 or 83, 82, and this record, I've never seen anybody say this is their favourite Fleetwood Mac record. By the same token, I've never seen anybody, you know, really give it a good slagging. It doesn't have the same profile as Tango in the Night. Obviously, it's not up in the same league as Rumours or even the eponymous Fleetwood Mac record. But it's far from a bad album. It's got a really lovely sound to it, beautiful production, lovely songs, lovely sounds. The one big song on it is Gypsy, which is a Stevie Nicks song, but there's also some great stuff on side two. The song Hold Me, which is a Christine McVie song, it's got some fantastic guitar playing on it. So yeah, Mirage, a classic mid-table album. So that got me thinking, can I pull out some more? So I pulled out 9 more, making 10, the magic number. So tell me what you think in the comments below. Do you think I'm right about these? Are these mid-table records? So I've got Coney Island Baby by Lou Reed, which has got some good stuff on it. You know, the actual title track, Coney Island Baby, is a bit of a classic. It's got some fun songs on it. Charlie's Girl, Crazy Feeling is a nice little pop song. But very rarely does it ever get onto the top of anybody's Lou Reed lists. And it's never on the bottom, really, you know, in the scheme of things. This next one, The Stones, It's Only Rock and Roll. A record which was critically panned when it came out, although it sold very well. And over the years, it's kind of moved up the table, I think. It's still very rarely ever held up as their best work. So it's clearly not in the same league as Beggar's Banquet, Let It Bleed, Exile on Main Street, Sticky Fingers. Goat's Head Soup now has risen up, you know. This one is never at the bottom. It's never down there with Dirty Work and, you know, all those slightly dodgy 80s records. It is mid-table, and obviously it's got the very famous title track on it, which is a good rollicking number. Paul Simon, Hearts and Bones. This is a record that originally was meant to be a Simon and Garfunkel album, I think, and something happened on the way to the studio. It's a nice enough 80s record from Paul Simon. It's got some good songs on it. The title track, Hearts and Bones, is a classic. It's got the late great Johnny Ace on it, which is a bit of a John Lennon tribute. Yeah, a nice sounding Paul Simon record. Neither totally superb nor terrible. This next one is a classic, I think, an absolutely classic mid-table record. Planet Waves by Bob Dylan. Never bracketed up amongst the, you know, the Blonde on Blondes and the Highway 61s, you know, but it's never, well, I've never seen it down there amongst the Self-Portraits and the, you know, whatever else, you know, Empire Burlesque, these records. I'm not saying that those records are terrible, I'm just saying that they do tend to be placed bottom table. Whereas Planet Waves, the record that he made with the band, always kind of seems to fall into the middle. I've always loved this record. It's got some great playing on it by the band. It's got some really great songs. Hazel is a song I've always loved. Forever Young, 2 versions of that are beautiful. But it's a mid-table Dylan record. Kinks. Now the Kinks did make some quite dodgy kind of arena rock 80s records, and this is not one of them. This is Schoolboys in Disgrace from, I think, was it 1976, 75. But again, it's not up there with Muswell Hillbillies, or with Face to Face, or with Arthur, you know, all the great Timeless Kinks albums, Village Green. But it's good fun. One of their RCA concept records. It's got some fun songs on it. School Days, Jack the Idiot Dunce, absolutely classic Ray Davies. It's interesting the way that mid-table albums often do contain at least one or two really great tracks. So there's the Kinks. Another classic mid-table record, I would say. This is Genesis, and Then There Were Three. This one tends to be ranked bottom of the sort of middle period of Genesis, you know, the kind of mid to late 70s, after Peter Gabriel left. This one was after Steve Hackett left as well, but it tends not to be ranked as highly as Trick of the Tail or Window Wuthering. It will normally come above, you know, Invisible Touch and We Can't Dance, and maybe even Abacab on occasion. But the big song on this record, of course, is Follow You, Follow Me, which is a really great song. A Genesis classic. Three more. Another classic mid-table record. This is Neil Young, American Stars and Bars. So yeah, it's never up there with the On the Beaches and the Harvests and the Zoomers, you know, but it's got some good songs on it, Like a Hurricane being the big kind of epic on this record. So none too shabby, but neither up there nor down there, as George Harrison might have said. Sorry, a bit of an obscure Beatles reference there. Elton John, A Single Man. This is the record that came out in '79, I think, and it was the album that he did with Gary Osborne, taking the place of his usual songwriting partner, Bernie Taupin. And there's a good one for the Gatefold thread that's going around at the moment. And yeah, classic mid-table Elton, really. It's got Part-Time Love on it, it's got A Song for Guy on it. Both those tracks are really good, I think. Really excellent Elton John songs, and there's some good stuff sandwiched in between. But it's never going to be ranked up there with Yellow Brick Road and Honky Chateau, and it's never lumped in with the ones, you know, we all know those ones, those very, very dodgy 80s albums by Elton. And finally this one, this is Presence by Led Zeppelin. Tends to be ranked mid-table. People don't lump it in with Coda and In Through the Outdoor, but they tend not to venerate it with you know, Led Zepp 4, Houses of the Holy, all those ones. It's Jimmy Page's personal favourite Zepp album, and yeah, it's got some good songs on it. It's very sort of dry, to the bone guitar album, really. It's quite kind of bleak, but it has its admirers. So there we go, Zeppelin, Presence. 10 mid-table albums. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.